Okay. Your joys and concerns keep in mind the key to us as people. So thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Lynchburg. We're glad you're here, and I'm glad to be back. Whoever you are, whatever your beliefs, whatever your age, and whomever you love, you are welcome here. As we work together for justice, compassion, and peace, we also acknowledge with humility that our buildings sit on Monacan land. My name is Terry Bailiff. I'm the professional minister of this congregation, but I share the ministry with all the members and friends of this community. If you're with us for the first time, we're glad that you chose to be here this morning to participate in this service in this congregation we love. If you'd like to receive our monthly newsletter and Friday e-news, you can, if you're on Zoom, fill out the virtual visitor card on our website at uulynchburg.org under Sunday services. Or if you're here, you can fill out the visitor card, which is the yellow card on the seat right in front of you. And then when the offering baskets come around, you can put it in the offering basket. So I want to start a new tradition that some other Unitarian Universalist congregations are doing, and I think it's a fun thing to start. So I would like for those of us who are here to wave good morning to folks on Zoom. And folks who are on Zoom, wave good morning to all of us. That gives us a feeling that we're really more of one community. And at the end of the service, we'll wave goodbye to each other too. So please take notice of the announcements in the bulletin. And if you're on Zoom, you're going to find those in the Friday e-news. But there are a few special announcements. Our facilities usage task force. Now, it could be the Unitarian Universalist facilities usage task force. But anyway, whatever it is, we're looking at our usage of space, and so would like for everybody in the next week to fill out a little survey that's, I think it's only 2 or 3 questions. It's in the Friday blast, but it will really help the group determine how we look at our space usage going forward. Next week, we are shifting a long-held tradition. For years, especially when we didn't have air conditioning in here, the Sunday of Labor Day was a work day to get us ready for the coming year. Next week, we're going to have our usual Sunday morning service, and our work day will be in October when the weather's better. So join us next week. I'm actually going to be talking about some of the things that I learned at the Parliament of the World's Religions, so I'm excited about that. September 10th will be our in-gathering service. We're going to share a water communion. So bring a bit of water from a watery place you enjoyed this summer. If you didn't gather any water, we will have a picture of symbolic water. I usually call it artificial water, but anyway, come and join us on September 10th. Also bring your computer bag, your lunch bag, kids' backpacks. We're gonna have a blessing for those. So let's begin our congregational year with gratitude for all we experienced this summer and all that we anticipate this year. Our young people and their parents are having an end of summer picnic today with Brianna Valone and the donkey and the mule, and hopefully the raccoons will show up. So we'll have them back next week. So now I invite us to just release our worries about the world and our own lives as we enter into the service by taking some slow, calming breaths. May the chalice we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal, not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, O Spirit of life. Before the service, I was sharing with Emily and Miles that the hymn that we're going to share in a few seconds was one of my favorites from childhood. And I loved it because I was really trying to live according to the teachings of Jesus. And yet, I loved it at a time when my home church was not allowing people of color to come into my church that purported to follow the teachings of Jesus. So that was my first, I think, disconnect with ideals and reality. So today, let us hear the heart of the ethical teachings of Jesus as we rise in body or spirit to share together hymn 276, O Young and Fearless Prophet.
Seated. I still love that hymn. Our opening reading is by Leslie Takahashi, called Marginal Wisdom. They teach us to read in black and white. Truth is this, the rest false. You are whole or broken. Who you love is acceptable or not. Life tells its truth in many hues. We are taught to think in either or, to believe the teachings of Jesus or Buddha, to believe in human potential or a power beyond a single will. I'm broken or I'm powerful. Life embraces multiple truths, speaks of both and of and. We are taught to see absolutes, good versus evil, male versus female, old versus young, gay versus straight. Let us see in fractions, the spectrum, the margins. Let us open our hearts to the complexity of our worlds. Let us make our lives sanctuaries to nurture our many identities. The day is coming when all will know that the rainbow world is more gorgeous than monochrome, that a river of identities can ebb and flow over the static, stubborn rocks in its course, that the margins hold the center. Today, we take an offering of our gifts for the work of this congregation, the monetary support of our members and friends, along with generous gifts of time and talent, make the work of this congregation possible. If you have found this church to be of value in your life, I invite you to use the offering baskets if you're here in the sanctuary, or if you're on Zoom, you can write a check to send it in the church, to the church, or donate by PayPal. So we give thanks for your gifts that are generously given and gratefully received.
It is the tradition of our community that we share in our midst the joys and I've been reading a lot, and articles have been sent to me about the new documentation that's coming out about so many people leaving Christian denominations. And people are talking about they need a church for the nuns, the people who no longer choose a faith community, but who need community. And I think one of the gifts of Unitarian Universalism is that we're always pushing ourselves to learn more and experience more. But with the strident nature of a lot of evangelical Christianity, it's like, how do we continue to claim the teachings of Jesus and not throw the baby out with the bathwater? So a few months ago, I had several conversations with members and friends who have been re-examining the faith in which they were raised. And some folks, like probably all of us here, have done this at one point or another, or are continuing to do this, are deconstructing an earlier faith and reconstructing a faith that's more authentic. Some of us want to find out how to claim Jesus without the judgment and hatred that's often seen in traditional Christian churches today. Having experienced a similar struggle that pushed me away from the United Methodist ministry into Unitarian Universalism, I thought it might be useful for those who were interested in reclaiming Jesus to look at the Aramaic translation of the Lord's Prayer. And I talk about this a lot because I think it's crucial for us today. This exploration moves us out of the traditional Greek understanding of Christianity and the world, and helps us learn about the worldview in which Jesus lived and taught. Approaching the teachings of Jesus from his native Aramaic offers a different way to encounter the prophet Jesus, whose name is Yeshua in Aramaic. Here is an understanding, a worldview that all of creation is sacred and beloved. You and I are part of that sacred reality that was birthed at the very beginning. However that beginning came to be, it was birthed. Gone in the Aramaic translation is the judgment that so many of us experienced if we grew up in conservative Christianity. And for many people, that conservative Christianity has meaning. But for many of us, we needed to leave, as I like to say, to save our own souls. The understanding that everything is sacred is the framework from which Jesus' prayer came into being. Exploring the prayer of Jesus in Aramaic is much more fluid than in Greek, because Aramaic has different meanings and nuances rather than, as our reading earlier in the service said, black or white. It's much more nuanced. Aramaic offers us a deeper ability to engage with Yeshua, free from the burden of 2,000 years of church dogma and Greek worldview that was laid over the simple yet profound teachings Jesus offered his followers. So let's take a look at your insert in your order of service with the weird words on the back. I didn't actually look at the insert, so. Oh, yeah, it's pretty tiny print. Get your glasses out, everybody. So I will first just say the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic. Abun de bashmaya nitkadish shemoch, tete malchuta, nehoe seviana aichana de bashmaya afbarach. Havlan lakma desun kanan yamana, washbakan kalbain waktahain, aikana daf kanan shwobakan lachayabain, wela tatlan, le misuna, ela patsan min bisha. Metol de lache malkuta wahaila watish bukta la alam, almin, amen. It doesn't sound like Spanish or anything we've heard before, does it? I still have trouble getting my mouth around some of those words. So our class explored each line of the prayer, beginning with that first phrase, which is the foundation for the rest of the prayer. Jesus would not have prayed, "Our Father who art in heaven," because that phrase denotes a separation between the sacred and creation, a separation between the sacred and humanity. Whatever name we use, the higher power, sacred unity, God, the eternal one's spirit of life, that reality, however we name it, is with us and within us, not removed to some other realm. Also, the word that denotes creation coming into existence, abun, attests to a birthing process. So we wouldn't say, "Our Father who art in heaven." The Sacred One was birthing reality. So the first line then becomes, "O birther, Father, Mother of the cosmos, you create all that is in light." So as our group explored the prayer, we looked at what the prayer says about forgiveness and being forgiven, about asking what we need each day in bread and insight, the freedom from unripeness, in our lives so that when the time for us to act emerges with love and compassion, asking that we be ripe or ready to serve. So there's a lot on that handout. I'm happy to talk about this anytime because it fascinates me. And I'm trying to put 6 weeks of conversation together. Through our class, each of us received insight about how the prayer speaks to us. And I hope that we will continue to engage our hearts and minds with this work, and that it will help each of us find a deep faith that's useful as we live our lives. So a few folks in our class reflected on the Aramaic prayer and created our own prayers. While there is some similarity, you will find that each person who is going to share in a few minutes has their own perspectives and what they choose to focus on. And I am very grateful for all the sharing in the class and the meaningful experience that I had being part of this group. So I would like to invite some of the folks in the class to share with us. And Shannon was kind enough to volunteer to share her prayer first. And then if you have any other things you'd like to say about the class, okay. Whatever.
Hey guys, I'm Shannon. So when we were making our prayers, there was basically like a list. We were going through a book, and there were like several different possible translations that we could like choose from, since the nature of Aramaic is that like it's kind of open-ended. It's not as like dualistic as like Greek or another language. So there are many like different possible interpretations of each line. So this is what resonated with me in the prayer that I put together based on what the prayer could mean to me. Okay. O birther, father, mother of the cosmos, you create all that moves in light. Help us let go, clear the space inside of busy forgetfulness so the name comes to live. From this divine union, let us birth new images for a new world of peace. Help us love beyond our ideals and sprout acts of compassion for all creatures. Animate the earth within us. We then feel the wisdom underneath supporting all. Untangle the knots within so that we can mend our heart's simple ties to others. From the evil of injustice, the green fruit and the rotten, grant us liberty. To you belongs each fertile function, ideals, energy, glorious harmony during every cosmic cycle. So I liked this translation because it's like more earth-centered than what I'm used to. I was raised like an evangelical Christian, and this just felt like very healing because it's like less dualistic, less like damnation focused, less like God is great and you're a piece of crap, you know what I mean? So I just felt like it was very healing and like affirming, and it felt more harmonious and like focused on like interconnectedness than like shame. So yeah.
Thank you, Shannon.
And I'm Bob Morse. This is a fascinating course, and I thank you, Terry, for putting it all together. You covered this a little bit, but in my own words, when we think of the teachings of Jesus, which most UUs can relate to, and compare it to the very different religion of Jesus that developed over many decades and centuries later, one can't help but wonder how different Christianity might have become had more attention been focused on the language actually spoken by Jesus and the people of his era. As Shannon mentioned, we each could share I mean, there are a number of options to choose from on each line of the prayer. And while sometimes most of us focused on one or maybe two lines, other times everybody came from a different perspective and selected a different line. In my case, I'm afraid I may have taken a little literary license. I may have let a bit of my own theology sort of sneak in and introduce some words of my own here and there, so please bear with me. O Creator of the cosmos, all living beings within it, and the yet unknown beyond, let us bow to the mystery of its magnificence. Within the divine union of all, focus the light of love within us towards peace and sustainability. Let all wills move together as in the vortex of swirling stars and planets, creating from many selves one voice, one action. Let us fulfill what lies within the circle of our lives each day, living simply and gently on our Mother Earth. We ask no more. Untangle the knots within so we can mend our heart's ties to others. Let us not be deceived by greed of things material, but free us to walk the path of love with joy and hope. For all the awesome beauty and splendor granted us on earth, the cosmos, and in the mystery beyond, be that we sustain it and live love in the world for as long as we may live. Blessed be.
Beautiful. Thank you, Bob. Dick, I think you have some comments.
Yes, mine are more comments
You're
than
muted.
prayers. Oh, no, I'm not muted. Can't you hear me?
Say something
Uh,
again.
Try it again. There.
Okay, that's
Okay,
good.
you can hear. Okay, thank you. This is more of commentary than it is a prayer. But the first one that I looked at was that I considered was, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. And I had commented that bless the Pope for wanting to change lead to leave. Would be more like Jesus would have said, than lead us not into temptation. But the translation that I caught my eye was deceived neither by the outer nor the inner, freed us to walk your path with joy. And my feeling is joy is what I feel comes from connecting to a God of love. And our feelings may mislead us, or people may mislead us, but God never will. The next one that I was considered was, for thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. And really two translations of that. First one is out of the astonishing fire, the birthing glory, returning light and sound to the cosmos. And the second one is, the translation is again and again from each universal gathering of creatures, nations, planets, and space to the next. And that sort of really spoke to me. The first speaks of the infinity and creativity of God. The second quote tells of the universal nature of life. It is throughout the universe, but we have yet to discover it. And there is a universal awareness of God because God indwells all beings and sometimes speaks to us in the storm with that small, still voice. And I've been very interested in finding ET, finding our fellow creatures or fellow beings somewhere else in the universe. The search for that began really at the beginning of last century, looking for signals from these places. And now we have something like JST looking for the actual inhabitable planets, which they have found a few, but that doesn't mean that we found inhabitants yet. What would have been science fiction 50 or 60 years ago, yesterday, will become tomorrow's reality, I believe. And there are actually people doing studies of how such a discovery of someone on some other planet, extraterrestrial life, would affect our cultures, our religions, and whatnot. We people are taking it that seriously. And finally, the beginning of the search, Galileo was put under house arrest because he claimed that the Earth was not the center of the universe. And today, but we're even looking for inhabited planets or inhabitable planets. It's an amazing time. I hope that we find someone to say hello to and share our feelings and our thoughts and our love. Amen.
Thank you, Dick. So, Ren, you're sitting on the front row. Do you mind going next?
Hi, Ren. um, okay. So I'm just going to start with my prayer and then talk about it. O birther, father, mother of the cosmos, you create all that moves in light. Creator of the shimmering sound that touches us. Hear the sound that created all others. In this way, the name is hallowed in silence. From this divine union, let us birth new images for a world of peace. Let your heart's fervent desire unite heaven and earth through our harmony. Create in me a divine cooperation, from many selves, one voice, one action. Let us fulfill what lies within the circle of our lives. Each day we ask no more, no less. Loose the cords of mistakes binding us, as we release the strands we hold of others' guilt. Deceived neither by the outer nor the inner, free us to walk your path with joy. To you belongs each fertile function, ideals, energy, glorious harmony during every cosmic cycle. Amen. So kind of building off of a little what Bob was talking about, kind of like the idea that language creates psychology, basically. Like without certain words, or like from words come ideas. In different languages, you have like without certain words, you can't have certain ideas. Without ways that words come together, you can't have those ideas. If you can't speak it, you can't really think it. And so kind of with that thinking, with my past in the Christian church, in a fairly fundamentalist Christian church, at that, I had certain thoughts and patterns and ideas. And these ways of thinking, like these new words kind of brought together, help break that. The idea that instead of there being a God separated from us, or that he's in charge and we're just doing his bidding, that instead of we're co-creators coming together, that we are together ruling, or together birthing, together working the earth, that changed my idea of how to approach the world and approach life. And also the idea that God is a creator of shimmering sound that touches us. I don't know, it just affected the way that I see even light, or like walk through my day or hear sound. And then also it changed the idea I had of judgment. Instead of feeling judged, I went from that to a feeling of grace and just trusting myself to act like when it felt right, or when I felt like it was a season to act, that everything had its time. I didn't have to feel wrong if it didn't feel like the right time to act. Just a lot more grace. I don't think that this necessarily made me feel like everything was healed, or that like it was okay to call myself like a you Christian necessarily. But it definitely gave me a lot more peace, and it made me feel like I had a newness to kind of go through life with, a little bit more healing. So
Thank you, Ren. Miles, can you come out of the closet back there? Thank you. You've got multiple jobs today.
Hi, everyone. My name's Miles. I don't really have as much to say about as everyone else. Also, I'm at the end, so that's probably a good thing.
Not quite.
I'll just, oh, am I not? Oh, okay.
David comes after you.
Okay. I guess I'll read my prayer first, and then I'll say a few words about it, or just about the class in general and the things that I learned. Radiant One, you shine inside us, outside us. Even darkness shines when we remember. Help us let go, clear the space inside of busy forgetfulness, so the name comes to live. Let your counsel rule our lives, clearing our intention for co-creation. Live in me, create in me a divine cooperation from many selves, one voice, one action. Generate through us the bread of life. We hold only what is needed to feed the next mouth. Erase the inner marks of our failures, just as we scrub our hearts of others' faults. Don't let surface things delude us, but free us from what holds us back from our true purpose. To you belongs each fertile function, ideals, energy, glorious harmony during every cosmic cycle. Amen. So, like a lot of the other people who were taking the class, I was also raised very like fundamentalist, evangelical Christian. And so since leaving that religion, I hadn't really thought, I hadn't given too much thought about revisiting the teachings of Jesus, because there was just so much baggage there with the sort of less healthy doctrines of Christianity that kind of infect the more useful teachings of Christianity. So without, it helped me to, going through the class helped me to kind of revisit those teachings without the burden of doctrines like original sin or like hell, which are, in my opinion, the most problematic ideas within Christianity that kind of infect everything else. But being able to approach it without those doctrines helped me to kind of, I don't know, I just kind of got a different understanding of the teachings, and kind of teachings about forgiveness became more about self-forgiveness and worthiness rather than oh, I'm a terrible person and I need to be forgiven, or like teachings of how we can create a sacred space for Jesus or for spirituality. There used to be a lot of guilt in that, and not being able to spend the time that I wanted to, or that I felt like I needed to spend, reading the Bible or praying or whatever. There used to be a lot of guilt behind not being able to spend that time, and now, specifically the line, what was it? Help us let go, clear the space inside of busy forgetfulness, so the name comes to live. Was a retranslation of, what was it? What was the original line? I don't remember, but it was heaven, hallowed be thy name. That's the King James translation. So it's like just the that line kind of becomes less about, I don't know, the guilt that I used to feel, and more about just like what's good for my spiritual life. Like realizing that in order to have a healthy spiritual life, you have to make space and step away from the busyness of life that makes you forget what's really important. So I don't know, just getting to revisit those teachings from a different perspective was really good for me.
Big smiles. David.
Hello. So I'm David. I took the class as well. And I grew up in a Methodist church. We kind of drifted away after we moved away. So I haven't don't have the experience of everyone else. But what I did when I did my prayer, I didn't choose any of the translations except for one fragment of one of them. I kind of took his meaning and basically entirely reconstructed the poem, the prayer. And I'm going to share my screen now because I have a presentation that is the prayer, and I'll share it with you. O cosmic parent, in the light and the darkness, in the quiet and the tumult, we see and hear you. Your breath cleanses the shrine within, your light illuminates it. From this shrine, we come to join you and create a commonwealth of plenty. Let our light, our thoughts manifest the physical world. Grant us sustenance in mind, body, and spirit, this and nothing less, nothing more. Compost our inner stolen fruit, and let us remember that all have such fruit. Lead us to dive from the surface, to act when needed, never before, never after. From this federation comes the vital thread which runs from place to place, gathering to gathering, sanctifying all that is, was, and will be. Blessed be.
Thank you, David.
And so, yeah, that's pretty much. I did avoid using the term kingdom. I think I chose in one place Commonwealth and Federation because, hey, Star Trek. And kind of, and I went with parent instead of father or mother because, gender neutral. But yeah, I definitely had fun doing this. So I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you, David. As you can tell, it was an amazing. Oh, Teresa, you're going to share yours too. Good.
This was very informative to me. I realized that day to day, it's easy for me to forget that we are all connected in many, many ways by the water we drink and the air we breathe and the light that we see and the light that shines through everything. I wrote about the first 4 verses. It took me a while to do that, so I skipped the rest. I grew up as a Catholic person, and I understand what it's like to be struggling with feeling like you're a bad person because you might make a mistake or do something that seems odd or a bad thing. But with the Our Father that we studied, I learned that forgiveness is something that comes within and that is very much what I have been able to do for myself and to forgive a lot in my own life. I'll read my prayer now. As I look to the sky and stars and feel my breath shared by creation, I acknowledge everything is one indeed. Father and Mother are one as everything is connected. The air, water, and all that is created flows. Let me release all fear and resistance. I discover who I am as I connect to the light I have within myself, which has been shown in others and the universe. It also connects to you, O Creator, as I am quiet within. Let us unite with the creation of the earth, and let me unite with it in love and peace. Thank you.
Thank you. That's beautiful. As you can tell, it was a really meaningful class for all of us, and I feel very privileged to have been part of it. One of the key lessons for us is that realizing everything is sacred can help us see ourselves in a different light, and I think several people shared that. If we come to accept that the sacred is in you and in me, then we are a light in the world. So I'd like to share a lovely reading by Rebecca Edmondson Lang. There's a short intro, then I'll share a phrase, and following the phrase, we will all say together, "We are the light of the world." And I'll motion to you when we'll all share together. She writes, "Some people say that Jesus is the light of the world. We also can be the light of the world if we seek to act in ways that enlarge the realms of love and justice. When we share another's pain or offer a comforting ear to a friend in need, we are the light of the world. When we give bread to the hungry or support ways to house the homeless, we are the light of the world. When we fight temptations to wrongdoing within ourselves and treat our neighbors with respect, we are the light of the world. When we try to overcome differences with understanding and resolve conflict with peaceful means, we are the light of the world. When we look for the good in other people and in ourselves, we are the light of the world. When we do not stay quiet in the face of prejudice, but speak our minds firmly and gently, we are the light of the world. When we fight despair within ourselves and side with hope, we are the light of the world. When we use our powers justly and in the service of love for humanity, we are the light of the world. We are the light of the world. Amen and amen. So let us just sit with that for a moment. If we really believe that, how would that shift how we see ourselves and each other? If we hear the teachings of Jesus through the lens of Aramaic, we find we are freed to understand that the message has always been that we are part of a sacred reality, that sacred reality that is creation. We are the light of the world. Let us claim that reality. Let us now rise in body or spirit as we share hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. quench this flame, but not the light of truth, the community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our heart until we are together again. Thank you, and be seated. And okay, I'd like everybody on Zoom to wave goodbye to everybody in the sanctuary. Everybody in the sanctuary, okay. It's been wonderful being together. And our final words of benediction. Let us go from this place remembering that we are the light of the world. Let us find power within us to do the work that is ours to do. May we find the song that beautifies all, which is renewed each day as we focus our lives on love and justice, finding hope in the work that we do. Amen. Blessed be. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, and I hope some of you will chat with the folks who were in the class, and thank you once again for sharing. Yes, we'll take autographs. Thank you. Blessed be.